China doesn't reveal itself to you. You have to go looking for it. Not the China of headlines or trade statistics or gleaming megacities. The other China. The one that existed before all of that, the one that still exists beneath all of that, where mountains have been sacred for 2,000 years and lakes sit so still they look like mirrors held up to the sky, and stone steps carved into vertical cliff faces lead to temples that have been there longer than most countries. This is the China that doesn't appear in travel promotions. This is the China we're going into today. Welcome to Planet on Edge. The Great Wall, Northern China. The modern city disappears behind you gradually. Skyscrapers give way to old villages. Old villages give way to open fields. Open fields give way to low mountains covered in green. And somewhere in that transition, before you can see it, the air changes. Quieter. Heavier with something that isn't quite silence. More like held breath. Then the first stone steps appear. Wide enough for several people to walk side by side. Wide enough, in some sections, for horse-drawn carts to travel along the top. A road built not on flat ground but along the spines of mountains, rising and descending with the terrain, refusing to compromise with geography. Millions of workers built this. Soldiers. Prisoners. Over many centuries. Under conditions that the stone remembers even if the history books can only approximate. Many of them never came home. Walking the Great Wall isn't a tourist activity. It's a reckoning. The scale only becomes legible slowly, section by section, ridge by ridge, and by the time you understand how large it actually is, something in you has already shifted. Tianmen Mountain, Zhangye. The world's longest cable car. Nearly 8 kilometers. As the cabin lifts off, the city below shrinks to a model of itself. Then the mountains begin. Towering vertical cliffs draped in green. Deep valleys disappearing into haze. Formations that look less like geology and more like something placed deliberately, an arrangement too dramatic to be accidental. At the top, not the end. 999 stone steps still remain between you and the gate of heaven. They climb directly toward a massive natural arch in the cliff face. The largest natural cave door on Earth. From below it frames a rectangle of sky so precisely that standing beneath it you feel something specific, the recognition that this particular combination of scale and geometry couldn't have been designed more perfectly by anything but time. The landscapes of Zhangye inspired entire worlds in cinema. Standing inside them you understand why. The question isn't why filmmakers came here. The question is why they ever left. Mount Wutai, or Shaanxi Province. 5 peaks. Each with a relatively flat summit, small plateaus suspended in the sky. One of the foremost sacred Buddhist mountains in China. The earthly realm of Manjushri Bodhisattva, the symbol of wisdom. A designation held for over 1,000 years. The air here stays cool even when the rest of China is suffering summer heat. The highest peak rises above 3,000 meters. More than 50 temples and monasteries, many over 1,000 years old, are scattered across the mountain. Walking between them isn't sightseeing. The atmosphere resists that framing. What you feel instead is the accumulated weight of centuries of practice, of people who came here specifically to slow down, to sit still, to pay attention to something the noise of ordinary life makes it almost impossible to hear. That atmosphere hasn't left. It absorbed into the stone, into the air, into the particular quality of silence that exists here and nowhere else. Mount Huashan, Shaanxi province. Nearly vertical cliffs. The entire mountain looks like a cluster of giant swords pointed at the sky. The journey begins at the foot in early morning. Stone steps through ancient pine forests. Then steeper. Then narrower. Then sections carved directly into the mountain wall, almost completely vertical, with iron chains anchored into rock centuries ago as the only handhold. Then the plank walk. Wooden planks bolted to the cliff face. Hundreds of meters of drop directly below your feet. Strong mountain wind coming from the valley. Safety harnesses mandatory now, they weren't always. This is consistently listed as one of the most dangerous hiking trails in the world. Not because of the elevation. Not because of the weather. Because the path itself was built without any concession to the comfort of the person walking it. Every step brings fear, and something that sits right next to fear, the particular aliveness that comes from doing something that demands everything you have just to keep moving. Would you walk it? Erhai Lake, Yunnan Province. After Huashan, after vertical cliffs and plank walks and iron chains, Erhai arrives as a complete contrast. From the old town of Dali, the lake opened suddenly. A ribbon of turquoise held between mountains. A surface so still that the reflection of the sky below looks more real than the sky above. This is the cultural center of the Bai people. For generations they've built their villages along the shore, white walls, grey tiled roofs, exterior walls painted with vibrant murals. Narrow paths connect ancient villages to fields that run down to the water's edge. You can cycle the entire lake. Stop at villages for tea. Watch the light change across the water through the afternoon. Erhai doesn't demand anything from you. After everything that came before it, after all the vertical and precarious and demanding, that quality of simply offering itself becomes almost overwhelming. Stand at the shore and do nothing. The lake doesn't require anything else. Fanjingshan, Guizhou Province. 2,500 meters. Frequently shrouded in fog. From a distance the summit looks impossible. A massive rock formation rising straight into the sky, then splitting into two distinct peaks, each one topped with a small temple. The rock face between them is near vertical. The only way up is a narrow staircase built directly around the rock, winding and curving as the stone demands. As you climb, the dense forest below disappears into mist. The path narrows. The sky gets closer. Then the clouds are below you. The two temples float above them, small structures on an impossible pinnacle, appearing to have no attachment to the earth at all. Just stone and mist and the sound of wind. This is what Chinese landscape painting is trying to capture. Not a fantasy. Not an idealization. Fanjingshan is the actual source, the real place that made those images seem possible to imagine. Zhangye Mountain, Sichuan Province. For Girls Mountain. Named for a legend about four sisters whose spirits became these peaks, the eldest standing tallest, silent against the sky like a permanent guardian. The journey from Chengdu takes you through a rapid transition, urban density giving way to mountain ranges, pine forests, grasslands. The landscape keeps changing until the valley opens and the snow-covered peaks appear all at once. Changping Valley in spring and summer, wildflowers across the entire valley floor, the peaks above still white, the contrast between color below and snow above creating something that photographs can approximate but not fully hold. The best moment at Zhangye is sunrise. Golden light hitting the snowcaps first, then the color spreading, pink becoming orange becoming the full brightness of morning. Stand in the valley and watch it happen without moving. Some things only require you to be present. Zhangye Danxia, Gansu Province. Red, yellow, orange, blue, green, purple. All in the same mountain range. All in layers, striations of color formed from mineral deposits accumulated over hundreds of millions of years, then lifted by tectonic activity, then shaped by wind and rain and time into forms that look less like geology and more like painting. Early morning is the only time to see this properly. The first light hits the red and orange layers and they ignite. The yellows and browns reflect more quietly. The shadows between the ridges create depth that makes the colors shift as you move. No two viewpoints are the same. Move 50 meters and the entire composition changes. Zhangye Danxia has been inspiring photographers and scientists and travelers for years, not because of what humans built here but because of what the Earth built here over timescales that make human history look like an afternoon. This is the creative power of nature with the constraints removed. Now stop. For just a moment. This journey moved through a China that most people never see, from the stone steps of the Great Wall to the plank walk on a vertical cliff face, from a sacred lake that reflects the sky like a mirror to a mountain summit where two temples float above the clouds. Every single place in this video exists right now. Unchanged by the week or the season or what's happening in the cities below. China is not just a country. It is a world where the story has been running for 5,000 years, and every mountain, every lake, every ancient stone step is a chapter that's still open. Which of these places would you most want to stand in? The Gate of Heaven on Tianmen Mountain, the plank walk on Huashan, or the colored mountains of Zhangye at sunrise? Write it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. Planet on Edge. We tell you what the world forgot to tell you.